Good day, math learners. I'm your Sir Win and welcomes you again to another math tutorials, specifically for mathematics grade 10. Okay, so since we already started discussing about polynomial expressions and on how to determine if the given expression is a polynomial or not, I will be giving you a review on that lesson. For our review, students, we are going to determine whether the following expressions are polynomial in a different way. So, I will be giving expressions wherein those 5 examples or given are not polynomial. And for a twist, you will be going to determine the reason why are the following are not polynomial expression or equation. Okay, so let's have the following given. The first expression is x raised to negative 2 plus 25 is equal to 0. The second one, 2 raised to x plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. The third one, we have x raised to 1/2 minus 16 is equal to 0. And the fourth one, we have 5 over x plus 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. And the last one, we have square root of 5 plus 1 is equal to 0. So, from that given, we are going to determine the reason why are those expressions are not considered as a polynomial from the given shuffle word. So, our guide is the shuffle word. And if you guessed the correct word, those are the reason why are the following are not polynomial expression or equation. Okay, very good learners. So, the reasons why are those 5 given expression are not polynomials are the following. The first one, we have a negative exponent. The second one, we have a variable in the exponent. The third one is we have a fraction in the exponent. For the fourth one, we have a variable in the denominator. And for the last one, we have a radical symbol with a variable inside. Okay, so those are the reason why are the following expressions are not considered a polynomial equation or expression. So take note of this reason. Okay, learners, so for today's lesson, our objective is to identify the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of a given polynomial equation. Okay, learners, let's start the lesson by defining the following terms. So we start with the polynomial equation. A polynomial equation is when a polynomial expression p of x is set to 0 or the p of x is equal to 0 when the terms are arranged from the highest exponent or degree to the lowest exponent. The equation is in the standard form. So again, we need to arrange first the expression to make it in the standard form from the highest exponent to the lowest exponent or our constant term. The second one, we have the leading term. So the leading term of a polynomial equation is the term with the highest exponent, while the leading coefficient is the numerical coefficient of our leading term. And finally, we have the degree of a polynomial. A degree of a polynomial equation is the highest exponent in the expression or equation. So, you will see an exponent that is the highest among all of those exponents in a given equation. So, that's our terms that you need to take note in this lesson. Okay, learners, so from that given polynomial equation, let's now identify the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of the polynomial equation. So we start with the leading term. So we can identify the leading term by just looking the term with the highest exponent. So from that given or example, we can see that the highest exponent is 2. So our leading term is x squared. Okay, so since we are now identified the leading term, so from that leading term, we can also identify our leading coefficient. So our leading coefficient is the numerical coefficient of the leading term. Okay, so the leading coefficient is 1. Why is that? That is 1. Okay, so remember the rule that if we cannot see any number beside our variable, we have an imaginary 1 as the numerical coefficient. Okay, so the reason why 1 is our numerical coefficient. The next one is the degree. So the degree is the highest exponent from each term. So the highest exponent is 2. So our degree or the degree of the polynomial equation is 2. So that's for our first example. Okay, learners, let's proceed with our second example. So we have 4x cubed plus 12x squared plus 12x plus 4 is equal to 0. Again, to identify the leading term, we just need to look for the highest exponent. So from each term of the given polynomial equation, the highest exponent is 3. So from that 3, we can now identify the leading term. So again, the leading term has the highest exponent. So our leading term is 4x cubed, to be followed with our leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the numerical coefficient of our leading term. So from the 4x cubed, our leading coefficient is 4. And finally, the degree. The degree is the exponent or the highest exponent. So we have the degree of the polynomial equation is 3. Let's now proceed with our third example. So we have the polynomial equation negative 2x raised to 4 minus 8x cubed minus 12x squared minus 8x minus 2 is equal to 0. So again, let's identify first the leading term. The leading term again has the highest exponent. So the highest exponent in the following equation or terms of a given polynomial equation is 4. So from that, we have the leading term as negative 2x raised to 4. And from that leading term, we can also identify our numerical coefficient or the leading coefficient of our polynomial equation. The leading coefficient is negative 2. And our degree of the polynomial equation is 4, which is the highest exponent. So that's all for the following examples on identifying the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of polynomial equation. Okay, students, so we are done now with our lesson. So let's have first a simple recap on our lesson. So first, in polynomial equation, in identifying the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree, you just need to know how to identify the highest degree or exponent in the given polynomial equation. And it follows that you can easily identify the leading term, the leading coefficient, and the degree of polynomial equation because the highest exponent has the leading term, or from that highest exponent, we can find our leading term. So that's all for today. Let's have your seat work. Okay, learners, so we are now done with the discussion. So let's proceed with your seat work. So your task is to identify the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of the following polynomial equation. So we have 5 given polynomial equation, and you just need to identify the leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of the polynomial. Okay, so after that, we are going to check your answers. Okay, so very good learners. So you got all your answers correct. Let's have your assignment. So we have 5 columns on this table given the polynomial equation. You need to identify the leading term, leading coefficient, degree, and the constant term of the given polynomial equations. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.